right. Well, I am excited to be here and to kick off the hardware and robotics part of this startup stage. I'm Alan from Space Monkey, and this is a Space Monkey device here. This is both hardware, and I've always sort of viewed it as a storage robot. So I think we're in the right place. Space Monkey launched 2 years ago here at the launch conference. We're really excited to be back at the festival. It's a great place for startups to connect and to kind of kickstart their futures. So Space Monkey is a storage service for consumers. It's much like some of the other big competitors you might have seen out there, Dropbox or Google Drive or Microsoft's OneBox or iCloud. We provide desktop apps, mobile apps, and web access to your data. And the thing that makes it special is that this is provided not by data centers, but by devices in consumers' homes. And not just by a device in your home, but when you join the Space Monkey network, you literally join a network of users who are cooperating, whose devices are cooperating to provide a more reliable, cheaper, faster, more efficient way to store data than is presently done in data centers. And I'll give you a demo of that. On that note, though, so as I said, we form a peer-to-peer distribution network of devices. All these devices cooperate with each other. All data is encrypted at the source, so your device in your home encrypts the data before it goes anywhere else. It's then a technique called erasure coding is applied to the data that gives it some redundancy in the network. Bits of your data are spread out among this network in such a way that even if we lose some of the devices in the network, all of your data is safe. Even if the device in your own home is destroyed or the hard drive fails, your house is flooded or burned down, your data is still safe. So let me show you how that works. When you buy a Space Monkey, you get a device like this. There's only two things you have to plug in: power and network on the back. Once you do that, you install a desktop app, which is running right here. You can see your files in it by navigating as you normally would with your file system. And what I want to actually show you right now is how this integrates with your mobile apps. So I don't have anything to show on the phone other than I'm just going to take a picture right now. So let me just take a picture of all you. Thanks for waving. Now, in a traditional cloud service, what would happen right now after that picture was taken is that it would contact a server in a data center somewhere. And it would upload that picture to that server on that data center. How many of you have ever been to a data center or seen the inside of one? All right, so you know that these are massive facilities, stacked, rows of equipment stacked floor to ceiling. They take a tremendous amount of energy, and because of that, they're very expensive. And because they're usually remote from where you are, your data has to travel across the country to a data center that it's stored at, so it's kind of slow as well. With Space Monkey, we're giving you a terabyte of space, and it's in your home, so that initial transfer to your device is very fast. And once it arrives at the device, you've got a full copy here, but then in the background, this device is, like I said, it's kind of a robot for your data. It's encrypting and chopping up that data into small pieces and spraying it out to the network. So that's what Space Monkey does that's different than what data centers do. And so we're able to provide this entire system without storage in the data center, just among these devices. So that picture that I just uploaded should be showing up here in this folder in a moment. Let me show you, while we're waiting for that, what I mean about data centers. This is a graph that blows a lot of people's minds when they first see it. So the orange line on the bottom is the cost of a terabyte of space if you just buy a hard drive. Now, it does go down over time. We're holding it constant on this graph because we want to show it as a multiple. We want to show cloud storage as a multiple of just raw hard disk space. So back in 2006, you would have paid a 4 or 5x premium to store a terabyte of data in the cloud. That gap is widening over time. Now, costs in the data center are getting cheaper, but the gap between just buying a hard drive or a device like this and storing data in the data center is actually widening over time. We're using Amazon's S3 pricing in this graph as a proxy for that, but this is a general trend in the entire industry. You can go and get this data yourself off the internet. So that's a problem. That's a problem that is only going to get worse over time. SpaceMonkey, let's see here. Like I said, we also provide web apps. You can get to those from the menu up here as well. Apps on iOS and Android. You can drill down and you can see your files. And one of the cool things that we do is even if your device is offline, and I'm going to simulate that here, we have sort of an Easter egg. This is now the device at my house that stores my stuff is offline, and this is accessing data from the network itself. So I can still access photos and things that I have stored in SpaceMonkey, and it's quite fast. In fact, it's often faster to access that way than it is directly through the device in your home. All right, so this is a big market, obviously. Cloud storage is approaching a $50 billion market. That's, I guess technically that's only 2.5 WhatsApps, but it is a big number. The number that's surprising to some people is the consumer NAS market. NAS is a network attached storage device. It's not much different in hardware than this. It generally doesn't have the type of software that we're running at SpaceMonkey. They're often called network drives. That market, if what the industry was telling us about the cloud were true, that market should be shrinking, right? We should all be going to the cloud. We should be storing all of our data in the cloud. And yet consumers are continuing to buy devices to put in their homes. And the reasons are generally twofold when you talk to people. I can't get enough space in the cloud, or it's too slow to upload all my data to the cloud. And those are both, they're sort of two sides of the same coin, and the coin is that it's inefficient to store data in the data center. And so by operating in a market where we sort of can take advantage of both these markets, where we have a pretty good chance at disrupting things. We took a round of funding back in 2012. This was when we came to the launch festival. That round came together really quickly after we presented here. We are currently fundraising as well. The team is me and my co-founder, Clint. You can see our backgrounds there. We both come from the traditional cloud. In fact, we met at a small cloud provider called Mozy, which some of you may have heard of. It was one of the first online consumer backup products that backed up your data to the cloud. We saw firsthand this problem, the problem of consumer demand for storage growing faster than the cost of storage was coming down. And we left to form SpaceMonkey. We've been able to assemble a great team of mainly of engineers from across the country. We are located in Salt Lake City, but we've been able to recruit people from as far away as Seattle and Virginia and Austin, from some great companies that they were working for there. Let me just make a plug for Utah right now. It's a great place. You know, our office is really, it's only about 15 or 20 minutes from some great skiing, from mountain biking in the summer, from hiking. We've got 5 great national parks right there in Utah. It's a day trip to Yellowstone. You can get down to Las Vegas in just a few hours as well. So there's a lot that's going for Utah. The cost of living is a lot less than it is out here. And our employees seem to be more loyal than they are, at least in talking with other founders out here. It seems to be a big problem, that the competition that there is for good employees. We have some great advisors as well. Some of those are listed there. We've really relied on them a lot. We are hiring for a lot of different positions. Not all at once. We're not going to fill all of these next week, but this is sort of our hiring plan over the next year to 18 months. So if you qualify in any of those roles, definitely send me a line. I'm Alan at SpaceMonkey. And you can go to the website as well. We do have inventory available right now. You can buy a SpaceMonkey. You'll get one of these. It comes in either black or white. You get to choose. You plug it in, and away you go. You got a terabyte of storage that you can use to store all of your stuff, instead of just, a lot of people do what we call the diet with cloud storage, where you're moving stuff in and out of your sync folder, whether that's via Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever you use. With SpaceMonkey, you don't need to do that. You have a full terabyte of space to put all of your stuff in. So I'll take some questions now.
questions. Do you support a concept of multiple users? And then do you work with Time Machine?
Great questions. So we are building multiple account support right now. That is a very heavily requested feature and one that we plan to get to very soon. That's obviously good for both families that want to have 5 or 6 people on a device. It's also good for small businesses, so expect to see that in the next month or two. Time Machine, yes. So that's another feature that is almost ready for release. One advantage we have with having a device in the home is that we can support local protocols like DLNA and SMB. This has not been released yet, but we have this working internally where you can point a Blu-ray player at this, you can point your home media center at this, you can point a smart TV at this and get all the pictures and videos that you have and access those in your living room, including Time Machine can talk with SMB. So that's our integration path there. We also have experimented with a direct integration with Time Machine where the client itself that's running on your desktop appears as a Time Machine client, and that works as well. Neither of those features are released yet, but they should be in the next couple of months as well. So.
Talk a little bit about your international expansion plans outside the U.S.
Excellent question. So we did do a Kickstarter campaign this past summer, and that was a worldwide campaign. We have delivered to almost all of the U.S. backers at this point and are gearing up to deliver to international backers in the next couple of months. And then, past Kickstarter, we've got to figure out, how to grow that in a smart way in terms of fulfillment and reverse fulfillment. When we have an actual device instead of just a service, it's a little bit more complicated to expand internationally, but we do plan to do that. About 40% of our backers on Kickstarter were international users. So.
Obviously, a lot of entrepreneurs in this audience, and you were kind of an early-ish experimenter with crowdfunding and hardware specifically. What are the challenges? What was the biggest thing you didn't expect, and do you have advice for people that are looking to get into the space?
Yeah, I have probably a half hour to an hour worth of advice about Kickstarter. If any of you are considering that, feel free to find me today and talk about that. From a high level, I think it's hard not to offer an international offering on Kickstarter because so many of the users there are international, but it is very challenging to deliver hardware internationally. There are extra regulatory import-export hoops that you have to jump through, and then fulfillment in terms of shipping is very costly as well to do internationally. So that I think we would still do what we did, but you have to consider that very carefully. The other thing that's interesting with Kickstarter right now is, it's sort of crossed the chasm where initially Kickstarter users, people that back projects on Kickstarter were your typical early adopter, very technically savvy, very tolerant of understanding the development cycle and delays. And there's still a lot of those people out there on Kickstarter, but now you've got people that view it as just a pre-order platform as well, and so they expect you to hit those dates that you promise. We were about 3 months late on delivering our first batch of Kickstarter rewards to backers, and we got 2 responses from that. The first one was, wow, 3 months, this is the fastest I've ever gotten anything on Kickstarter. And the other one was, 3 months, I can't believe this, give me my money back. So you've got to be able to deal with both sort of classes of users, and that can be surprising for first-time guys. So.
Talk to us a little bit about the security challenges you face. You mentioned that you're encrypting things right away when you sort of have both a physical device, but you're sort of creating this cloud network among the devices. What sort of challenges are there, and how do you address them? That's
a fantastic question, too. I love that question because we feel like we have a deep advantage here on security and privacy. When you store your stuff on one of our competitors in one of their data centers, you just have to trust that they're doing what they say they're going to do with your data, that they're encrypting it, that they're not going to let somebody come in and look at it. And it also provides, as we've learned recently from Edward Snowden, it provides a really easy vector for powerful entities to come in and get access to that data. With SpaceMonkey, all the encryption happens locally, and you're relying on the cryptography for security and privacy. You're not relying on a policy or on employees at a big company behaving appropriately, or the police not coming and knocking on the door. And then once it's encrypted, bits of your data are stored across political boundaries. So, that file I have, that picture I have of my kids is encrypted, but even if somebody wanted to get access to all those chunks, they might have to go get a subpoena for 20 different locations here in the U.S. plus 10 in South America and one in Japan and a couple in China and one in Europe. So that provides, we think, better protection for privacy for users than is traditionally done in the cloud.
Do you think that you're less vulnerable to those sort of like NSA targeting of the links between data centers than a Google or someone that has that kind of concentrated physical capacity?
Yeah, we definitely feel that. I mean, a data center is inefficient in terms of energy consumption. You got all this equipment packed in a small space, and you've got to push cold air through it constantly, and you've got to have diesel backup generators that run occasionally, and network operation centers, and you've got to have there's all this inefficiency there in terms of just operating efficiency and impact on the environment. But there's also it's a central point of attack for the NSA or for hackers or for rogue employees. It's much easier to attack that sort of a system than this type of a system.
Any other questions? Yeah. Couple over here.
Hi there. A lot of Kickstarters have been trying to build good hardware, but it's been a big problem. Hardware is easier to make, but it's still very hard to execute on. Do you have any recommendations on building just good hardware, especially in a very dense space?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we even though we're a hardware company, we don't feel like we've innovated much on the hardware. This is pretty commodity stuff that's inside of here. So our sort of development cycle for the hardware itself was fairly straightforward. We decided initially to manufacture in China. That's hard in terms of it's hard in terms of the schedule where they're awake when you're asleep and you're asleep when they're awake. It's hard in terms of travel back and forth to visit and pick a factory and to go supervise the line, especially as a startup where you maybe can't afford to have somebody living there doing that for you. So I think there are a lot of good local manufacturing options that you can do instead. That's a little bit pricier in terms of labor, but with our device, I mean, most of the labor it's a small component of the overall price anyway. So yeah, those are some of the things you have to be aware of for hardware manufacturing.
Thanks, Alan. Everybody give it up for Alan and Space Monkey.